Hey, did you finish that video yet? What are you doing over there?
Oh, hey, I've just been doing some things, like monsters, and hunting monsters, and hunting, and like some monster hunting as well. It's been all go over here.
What do you mean? You've barely even started the video yet. Well, can you at least talk about Monster Hunter 4?
Yeah, probably be able to do that.
Hello everyone, I'm Chris Mozillo Celtus son, and today I'm going to be giving you a video game review of Monster Hunter 4. This is the first Monster Hunter game I've actively played, but I've always wanted to get into the series, and well, boy was I pleased with what I got. The general premise is that you're a hunter of monsters, a monster hunter, if you will. Just like the name of the game! In which you help out like the villages or various settlements by hunting down and slaying these like large monsters that have been causing a ruckus in the general area. And then you wear their skins to fight even larger monsters, so you can wear their skins to fight even larger monsters. It's just a quest to find ever-increasing these large monsters while clothed in the skin of your previous victims. Now as a game, it's really quite fun. Why? Well, there are numerous reasons. But to start off with, there is a total of 14 different weapon types, all which play incredibly differently and with their own play styles. And these weapons could be anything from like giant great swords to small thin long swords like katanas to maybe like small like a sword and shield or dual blades or a hunting horn or a bow and arrow or a sword or an axe that turns into a giant sword. Or like you fucking rifles even. I myself went with the charge blade, which is a sword and shield combo which combine to make this massive axe monstrosity. And really, the reason I picked this was because it was one of the first things that caught my eye and had a playstyle that I could really get behind. So there's a variety in playstyles that really makes the game quite interesting. And then you've got the main appeal, the monsters. From what I've gathered, there are 120 monsters. Some are old and returning, and some are new and fresh. And they all feel really nicely well designed and unique, with their own styles and movement patterns. The way the monsters all move just feel so real. Sure, you might be fighting some like giant rock dragon that's, seemingly completely out of this world, but the way it moves around and, just fighting like its slow movements and whatnot, you end up feeling like it could have existed in this mortal realm. It's such a fun element to it, is while you're constantly coming across new and interesting monsters, you have to kind of work out their attack patterns and their openings just on the fly while you're trying to not be gored to death by the monster. This is the part of the video where I just start to gush about individual monsters, so get ready. While I have praised the monsters for how they feel and how they move and all that stuff, there are still a few which are fucking awkward. The one which stands out the most for me is the Najarala. Najarala? The big snake-like creature with its long, serpentine body. It looks amazing to watch because it slithers around on the ground and whatnot. But actually fighting the thing is a fucking hassle. It's at a moment's notice, it'll just recoil back into this spring-like thing, and then the next moment it'll be encircling you or spin just constantly going around you. But there's very little transitionary animations between these two. So you may be getting ready to fight it, and then suddenly it's just gone. And then suddenly it's all the way up in your grill. And it just moves around so much, and when it's encircling you, you try and escape, in which it then circles around again, knocking you on the floor, and then you try and move again, and just spin. It just doesn't stop moving. And the way this ends up moving is each individual movement animation feels good, but the way they transition together make the boss feel very awkward and a bit clumsy, because it's such a large boss, and large and thin boss as well, it covers great distances in short moments, but really ends up just feeling a bit messy because the hitbox is a bit skewed, and it just, because the way of it just moves so far relative to everything else, it can feel awful to fight. And then there's like the Xantreous. There's a big shark monster, it's this big quadrupedal boss as fuck shark, which will like chase after you with its massive shark face that just agape at you. And then, also like burrow into the ground and do the whole like Jaws thing of where its fins on the surface and it's just like chasing you around. And it's fucking thrilling. And then suddenly it like encases itself in this like ice armor. And you're like, oh my god, this is so cool. So you're fighting that with it suddenly getting incredibly much more like harder because it now hurts more, and there are very few points on its body which you can actually now damage. And then suddenly the thing just fucking inflates into this massive balloon shark. And you're just kind of left there being like, this is amazing, but so weird. Because you just never know what the game is going to throw at you next. One monster that went through a rather quick transition from like one of my favourite monsters to a fight to one of my least favourite was the Rajang. It's this weird like gorilla buffalo, which you kind of face fairly late into the game, being like Hunter rank 7. And it was interesting because it was like a smaller incised, one of the smaller monsters that actually felt like a threat, unlike the other gorilla which throws its poop at you, and the big rabbit, which is, just a big dopey rabbit. So you're kind of fighting this, dodging its like punches and shit, and then suddenly it just goes like Super Saiyan, and is now firing like lightning beams from its mouth. When that first happened, it blew my goddamn mind. But then it suddenly became one of my least favourite monsters to fight. For one simple reason. Classic. Enrage. When it became enraged, it does so much damage in a single hit. If you died, or had like, say like you've eaten, so you've got like a full health bar and full stamina bar. If you're on full HP or a good like 3/4 HP, if you're hit once, you'd pretty much be fucked. You might just get away, but maybe not. And if you had died and come back, and you're on just like the base HP, just one hit whilst it was enraged was pretty much an instant KO, meaning you've got not much left to do other than just die repeatedly until your mission fails and you have to start all over again. Another monster that really pissed me off because of its like enragement is the Tigrex. Basically, what is my least favourite monster in the entire game. The Tigrex is a flying wyvern that does little to no actual flying, and instead just crawls around on the floor back and forth over and over again. And when it's enraged, it does this more frequently and with a higher speed, and a higher velocity. That's the word I was looking for. So you end up just getting like, it just runs across the screen, you get hit by it, you're now knocked over the floor. By the time you get up, it'll turn around and it's charging back at you, and you've been knocked over again. You get up again, and this time you'll probably be dazed because you've taken too many hits, and guess what? You can say goodbye to that last chunk of your HP because, here it comes, boom! You've been knocked over again. It just does this. It just goes back and forth, over and over and over and over again. It's just fucking awful. I hate it. Even its equipment is fucking gross and boring. As you gather resources and parts from the monsters you slay, you can create armor and upgrade your equipment or create new weapons, all based off of that monster with which you've gathered the parts from. And the equipment is also diverse and interesting, as you've got like one suit of medieval armor, that you've made from one type of dragon, to like a suit of weird like thunder samurai armor from a different type of dragon. And then you've got like the weird stuff, such as weird like fur thongs and whatnot or like mecha suits that make you look like some hero from a from some TV superhero show. There's just so much diversity and like kind of humour to the outfits that it's just hilariously interesting. I mean, sure, there are like big monsters attacking you, but everyone's so jovial and everything's just a bit, campy, which just kind of makes it really fun. Now, getting some of this equipment is normally quite easy. Normally to get a full suit of armour, you need to slay the monster about 3 times, provided you know what you're doing and you're like breaking the parts of the monster to get specific drops. However, if you're super lucky, then you'll look on your equipment and like, it'll need a super rare drop, and what's the frequency of this drop? Oh, it's just like 2%. Yeah, it's a good 2% drop. What's that? What's that? This piece of armor you need requires 3 of these? Well, looks like you've got a good day or 2 of solid farming this monster. Have fun with that. I did have a few issues with the combat that still annoy me to this day. Remember way back when I was talking about the Rajang and being one-hit KO'd by it? No? It's probably less than 3 minutes ago. But anyway, while not every monster can one-hit KO you, there are some which can stun lock you into a KO. Monsters can just trap you in corners where, there's no escape, so by the time they'll knock you over, you've taken damage, you'll get up, you get knocked over again because it's all timed perfectly because you just can't dodge roll out of the way, and even if you do, the invincibility frames on that are so hard to read that you'll still just get hit even when you're like dodge rolling out through the body. So you just end up dying because you just got trapped in a corner, or if you're super lucky, there'll be like a fucking Conchu or something on the map that will just blindside you while you're having this one-on-one with a big monster. But don't worry, there are like hundreds of little cunts around on the map at the same time. And it's the same problem with the Rajang, is that you can occasionally just get stun-locked, which can lead to just like fucking the mission failing because you've lost all your food buffs and whatnot, so you're instantly at a mega disadvantage now. So you probably end up dying much more frequently and a lot quicker than you were before. There are times when, like, the pause times between attacks are seemingly nothing at all for some monsters. So you'll dodge or get hit by one thing, and then before you even fucking regained yourself, it'll start its next animation and next attack, which can sometimes lead to just the monster standing in place, just spinning around, because that's one of their moves normally if they have a tail, where they turn around 180, will hit you with their tail, you'll get knocked over and just not just far enough to get in place for the next tail swipe, so when you stand up it's turned around, bright eyes, and then you've been hit again, and then you'll stand up and it's turned around, and it's like, so it's just a spinning top of rotatory death. This, paired with using items, fucking hell, like, knowing when to use an item takes a whole new level of skill apparently. So you may be fighting a big monster, right? And it'll be doing this massive charge attack, and you'll move out of the way, and, it'll miss. So, while it's finishing up its charge attack, you may think that you want to quickly refill some of your HP with a cheeky potion. You'll have your potion, and then suddenly your character starts doing some weird flexing poses in celebration of this fact that you've managed to successfully drink a potion, in which suddenly the monster has finished up its last attack and is starting a next one, and boom, you've been blindsided by a monster, losing most, if not more, of the HP you've just regained. It's just something I wish I could cancel out of and dodge roll out. I mean, sure, if I've used a potion, just punish me for using that if I've used it poorly and dedicate me to using the potion. But once it's in my body and I've fucking used it and regained the HP, I want to be able to fucking dodge roll if I have to. Don't keep me around for a fucking disco party that's happening for me to be hit by stuff. The game is long. Like, really long. I've played about 165 hours of the game, and I'd say I'm about 2/3 through, maybe a bit more, probably a bit less even. There's this nice, like, ending segment in the single player storyline, where they're just like, nice, and we save the day and just like put a finish to it. And then you think like, that, it's nothing but multiplayer now. Ah-ha-ha-ha. No. Seemingly like a shit ton more game to game after this point. Like, not only is there like masses of multiplayer available, which I ended up doing a shit ton of myself, just by myself without any friends, but there's like a whole nother half load of single player to go through. Doing the multiplayer was a bit weird, as there were some few odd moments where I'd gotten quite far ahead, so when I go back to the single player, one person or two would be like, oh no, there's this evil Tetsukabra on this Skrilla giant spider in the mines. What will we ever do? How are we ever going to face this? If only there was a hero that could possibly save the day. And you just kind of walk up there with like just already decked out in like in the skin of that monster, or an even greater monster. Just like, yeah, I could probably deal with it if you want, I guess. Yeah. Monster Hunter 4 Ultimate is incredibly addictive. I've already ruined my sleeping pattern playing just like endless hours of this, just forever and ever. I'm not sure if I'm just like hardwired in my brain for this sort of like progression system, and it's just, you know, my addictive personality that has got me hooked on it. But it's just seeing like this new, like a new set of armor or whatever, and going out of your way to just get a full suit of armor that you may not even use just because it looks cool, or even what I've been doing, which is just spending a lot of time trying to upgrade weapons that I don't even use just because I like the look of all the longswords, so I'm gonna upgrade them, right? It's a game that 100 hours in, you're still being greeted by new monsters, and even though like some of these new monsters are just, it's the previous one but in a different colour, the AI is still pretty different, meaning this differently coloured Rathalos or whatever acts moderately different to the normal Rathalos, so you've got to relearn how to fight it, or its new patterns and whatnot. And, you know, it's that sort of thing where it's a bit like it's been described as a more light-hearted Dark Souls because it's fucking hard, but when you're one-on-one with these giant monsters, and you just manage to dodge real good and then like hit real hard and the thing dies, you stand above its corpse knowing that man is truly the greatest monster of them all, and nothing shall stand in our way.
Thank you for watching my video. If you liked it, then make sure to let me know by liking the video, and if you actually like want to discuss anything about Monster Hunter 4 Ultimate, then why not comment? It can be positive or negative. Heck, if you liked a part that I didn't like, hey, that's totally fine, let me know down below. And hey, if you had a fun monster memory, why don't you inform me about it, and I'll try and reminisce alongside you. Toodaloo!
Just like the name of the game! Hey, if you started that video, yeah, what is going on? You didn't quite get the shot properly. Yeah, I know. Weaver, I don't wanna look.